Hello everyone. Our topic today was requested by Arturo Burgos and Nathan Dotson. We'll be going over the Angiris Council from the Diablo franchise. Spoilers for all things Diablo.
The Angiris Council is the governing body of the Diablo versus Angels, and they have ruled over their angelic brethren since time immemorial, ageless and unified until comparatively recent history. The Diablo vs. Big Bang was the result of a clash between Tethamet, a seven-headed dragon-like monster that was the personification of all that is evil and vile, and Anu, the personification of all that is good and whole. With their final blows, the two beings slew each other and seeded all life in creation. From the rotting corpse of Tethamet, which became the realms of hell, rose the race of demons, their leaders the seven great evils forming from each of the heads. In contrast, the angels were formed from the remnants of Anu's spine, which became known as the Crystal Arch, around which the heavens were formed. For more information on all of that, see our video on Diablo's world here. Angels are formed during a process called the Light Song. They are literally formed of both light and music, and during moments of particular luminous and musical harmony, angels are birthed from the light and vibrations of the Crystal Arch itself. When an angel dies, another is born to take its place at some point in the nebulous future, meaning that, given time, the angel's ranks remain at a relatively stable level. Presumably, the members of the Angiris Council would fall under this same process of reincarnation, but the veracity of that idea has yet to be proven, because it takes time to form a new angel, as in another isn't immediately formed once its predecessor dies. And since new angels are born to perform similar tasks, but are specifically not the same angel as the predecessor, we know for certain that until the events of the games, no Angiris Council member has ever fallen.
We know this because the same specific council members have led the angels since the very beginning. While the demon lords represent and embody various negative tenets, terror, fear, destruction, etc., the Angiris Council's archangels represent positive traits, specifically valor, justice, hope, fate, and wisdom. Each archangel on the council has historically stood unified in their fight against evil in general, and demons in particular, throughout the millennia, collectively championing their people's cause in the eternal conflict between heaven and hell, while individually governing, guiding, and shepherding their people through different aspects of their quasi-immortal lives.
Malthael was the Archangel of Wisdom. He was considered the first among equals. If not the leader of the council, he was at least a wise voice to whom all paid deference. Evidently speaking little, but looking on any subject with a fair, impartial, and discerning eye. He carried the Chalid Ar, the Chalice of Wisdom, which he would spend long hours, days even, peering into when time permitted. The living light of the chalice allowed those who viewed its depths to begin seeing the interconnectedness of reality, showing the viewer how things were connected, the nature of general and specific actions and reactions, all under a purely objective light, granting those with a will to withstand such knowledge great insight into the world around them. It is said that in the early days that he was a bright, lively, shining creature. However, after the Worldstone vanished, he gradually became literally darker and more somber, eventually vanishing in pursuit of greater knowledge. More on that later.
Imperius is the Archangel of Valor. He is the warrior supreme of the archangels, and by extension, the heavens entire. His courage is boundless, bordering on and in later millennia bleeding over into arrogance. He is a gifted leader, general, and tactician, the tip of the spear in any charge into the enemy and the foremost vanguard in any retreat. It is his place to train and marshal the greatest of heaven's warriors, though each of the council members are powerful combatants in their own right. He is far and away the most rash and angry of the archangels, continuously wishing to push the fight against demonkind and seeing any compromise in that war as a step in the wrong direction. His weapon of choice is the Solarian, the Spear of Valor, which, according to legend, he forged himself in the very heart of a dying star.
Auriel is the Archangel of Hope. She is the peacemaker, the compassionate one, the voice for caution and second chances. When her brethren get too hot under the collar, it is she who intervenes and returns diplomacy to the council chambers. She is literally the heart of the council and the angels as a whole. Each of the archangels seemingly actually embodies their aspect. Her presence, words, and influence bring much-needed hope to a people bogged down by a millennia-long war. She bears the Al-Mayesh, the Cord of Hope, a ruined length of cloth that is as deadly a weapon as it is a mystical means of calming her allies.
Itherael is the archangel of fate. Similar to Malthael, Itherael can see the interconnectedness of all things. Unlike Malthael, in Itherael's case, these strings are more of the temporal variety. He is able to see the myriad of ways that an action can spawn a number of results, and from there, is able to extrapolate the most likely outcome of a situation. This same capability has also given him a wide breadth of knowledge on nearly any topic. Indeed, though he has kept the answer from Imperius, who has asked many times, Itherael does confide to the player that he has long since seen the outcome of the eternal conflict, that it ends with Hell standing victorious. Interestingly, though, he cannot read the fate of humans at all, as they are an unplanned mingling of angel and demon that was, quote, never intended to exist, and as such, unique to the rest of the cosmos in that they have no set fate. He uses Telos R, the Scroll of Fate, to divine the future, past, and present.
Lastly, Tyrael is the Archangel of Justice. Similar to Imperius, he is a mighty warrior, also lending his hand in the training of their soldiers. Though he originally saw all subjects of justice versus injustice in a very black and white manner, he has been tempered by the concepts of compassion and hope over the millennia of his lifetime. He is the most active member of the Council in humanity's affairs, often intervening despite the Council's policy of non-interference, because he believes it is the right, the just thing to do. He wields El Druin, the Sword of Justice, with which he dispenses justice on the guilty or protects the innocent as justice demands.
The Angiris Council work together in nigh perfect unity, thus leading the forces of heaven in basically perfect unity for most of known history. The first stirrings of trouble for the Council, specifically and the angels as a whole, came with the theft of the Worldstone. The Worldstone was discovered by Malthael. It was a piece of Anu with the capability to create or terraform whole worlds, and as such became the central source of conflict between the angels and the demon throughout the eternal conflict, with neither side holding permanent sway over the stone. Eventually, a group of renegade angels and demons, weary of the endless war, stole the Worldstone and used its powers to not only create a world, but shield it from the prying eyes of heaven and hell. Thus, the Worldstone was lost to angel and demon alike, who frantically searched for it to no avail for centuries. The eternal conflict raged on, but it no longer had a center, and became more about the systematic hatred the two races had for one another. Having not foreseen the theft of the Worldstone, and being unable to find it despite his vast store of knowledge and understanding, Malthael grew melancholic as time passed and no progress was made. It's also hinted that humanity, birthed on this hidden world, might have possibly interfered with his ability to use the Chalice of Wisdom. Somehow. Or at least he blames them for it.
Eventually, Tyrael discovered the hidden world, dubbed Sanctuary by its creators for obvious reasons. He also discovered the existence of humanity, born originally as Nephilim, the heretical union of angel and demon. The entire Angiris Council considered the human race a demon-tainted abomination, and after Tyrael's more subtle attempts at getting humanity to wipe itself out for them failed, the Council unanimously voted to exterminate the human race. However, the forces of heaven and hell were rebuffed by the forces of humanity, and when the humans' Nephilim champion realized he threatened the very existence of his world with the power he'd used to force the angels and demons from his home, he willingly laid down his life to protect the rest of the world. This act of selflessness stunned the Council, who immediately called for a revote on whether or not they should wipe out humanity, in which a tie would default back to the original attack plan. Imperius voted that humanity was still a demon-tainted mess and should be wiped out. Auriel and Itherael noted that as creatures of both good and evil, humans had a unique opportunity to choose and should be given the right to do so, while admitting that the same capacity meant it was possible they could be worse than any demon, but also better than any angel. Malthael, mind already leading elsewhere, abstained from the vote, and actually vanished from heaven shortly afterward, leaving the Chalice of Wisdom behind. The final vote came down to Tyrael, who'd originally sought to destroy humanity before even involving the Council. He determined that the slaughter of a people capable of such self-sacrifice would be unjust, demanding humanity be given a chance to prove themselves.
Heaven and Hell made a truce involving Sanctuary, both sides agreeing to leave humanity alone to let them choose for themselves what to make of themselves. A pact which Hell unsurprisingly broke, but to which all the Council save Tyrael stood firm. Tyrael aided humanity from the shadows for centuries, teaching them how to combat demons and even contain the great evils when they stepped foot on Sanctuary, occasionally setting foot on the world himself to fight battles alongside humanity. Imperius took over leadership of the Council in Malthael's absence, and he and Tyrael's relationship deteriorated, often coming down on opposite ends of policy, particularly on any decision regarding humanity. This finally came to a head at the beginning of Diablo 3, when Imperius attempted to condemn Tyrael for his numerous brazen acts of defiance against the Council's laws on behalf of humanity, who even the rest of the Council looked upon as lesser beings.
In response, Tyrael cast away his angelic birthright, somehow descending into a human, though completely angel-blooded, state, where he helped guide the humans in their most recent fight against the great evils. While an odd decision tactically, and one that Tyrael has had mixed feelings about since, at least in the short term, it proved to be a good one, as for the first time in history, the great evils combined into one prime evil, a singular being with all of the powers of the great evils, and successfully stormed the gates of heaven. Diablo, the prime evil, subdued Auriel first thing, as her capture literally robbed much of the host of heaven of the will to fight. What's more, as Diablo began corrupting the Crystal Arch, most, if not all, of the angels fell unconscious on the spot. Only humanity's efforts, supported by a human-formed Tyrael, felled Diablo and saved heaven from destruction.
The problems didn't stop for the Angiris Council, though. After their victory over Diablo, Tyrael took his place on the council once more, though this time claiming the place as Aspect of Wisdom. But as if the strain of both he and the other angels figuring out how to work with a not-human, not-angel on their council weren't enough, the Soulstone carrying the soul of the prime evils was still in heaven and slowly corrupting both the realm and the people. Though ironically, only Tyrael, despite his own issues with the adjustments to mortality, could see it, and the other council members refused to listen. Tyrael then contacted/created a band of humans to take the stone and hide it on Sanctuary, believing that to be a safer place. In the aftermath, another meeting to decide whether or not to destroy humanity was called, as Imperius blamed them for all of these recent events. The results, though closer, were the same. What's more, Tyrael's fate was also on the docket, and he was allowed to remain on the council but would continue working from Sanctuary.
Afterward, Tyrael went to hide the Soulstone, only for Malthael to rear his head for the first time in about 3,000 years. During his time alone, Malthael had been searching for answers, and he'd come to determine that humanity didn't deserve the power to choose good and evil, as they were mortal. They were there and gone again as quickly as a spark or a candle by comparison to the lives of angels and demons. What's more, with the great evils combined into one and trapped in the Soulstone, Malthael realized the angels were poised to wipe out all demonkind more easily than ever before. The real challenge was the most powerful members of humanity, who'd proven they could take on beings of such power as Diablo, in his final primeval form. So, calling himself the Archangel of Death, Malthael stole the Soulstone, altered it so that it would collect all demons' essence in Sanctuary, which would kill all of humanity, effectively ripping their souls in half, with the plan being to set it off, clean up the mess, then proceed to wipe out the leaderless demons. Humanity's champions stopped Malthael even after he absorbed the power of the prime evil. They slew him, though not before his efforts wiped out approximately 90% of the human population. His death presumably freed Diablo to be born again, and possibly allows for a new Archangel of Wisdom to be born, as both races have different methods of returning to life in the aftermath. Meanwhile, Tyrael looked on at what humanity's champions had become, and burdened by his own recent mortality, wondered if, when temptation came, would these champions remain firm, saving the day time and again, or would they fall as so many humans had in the past, creating a nightmare worse than either Diablo or Malthael?
And that's basically the Angiris Council, leaders of heaven from the Diabloverse. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave us a like and share it with someone you know might like it. If you have ideas for videos you'd like to see in the future, do like Arturo Burgos and Nathan Dotson and let us know in the comments down below. If you'd like to see more lore videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and if you'd like to see our Let's Plays, follow the link in the description and subscribe to our Let's Play channel.
In the meantime, this has been True Masters and Morons, signing off.